I don't know if you know anything about SAD light, SAD light, seasonal affection disorder light. People call it happy light. Um, so I got this light because I heard that everyone in the Northeast needs something more than sun that we have in the winter. So it was actually very helpful. I used it for a couple of years during winter, and it brought the lightness, giving you a little more light, and the brain and your body was helpful. And what I found was very interesting was after 30 minutes of exposure, when it goes off, the normal light in your living room or study looks very, very dim. It goes way down, and I sometimes wonder, how was I able to function in this dimness? And I think sometimes that's where we are at. Our eyes are adjusted to the dimness in reality, and we don't get to see everything. Even though our eyes have capacity of seeing it, depending on the brightness of the environment, you may see better. And I think Isaiah was in that dimness place. He was in this place of, I did everything I can, but everything went the wrong way. Have you ever felt that way? I did everything I could, but things are not going the way I wanted. He witnessed the northern kingdom of Israel occupied by Assyrians, and then they were exiled to Assyria, and it created diaspora, which means like scattered. The people were scattered all over. And then he's been preaching and prophesying to the people of the southern kingdom, Judah, telling them, if you don't turn around and if you don't come back, then same thing will happen to our kingdom. He's been preaching, he's been mourning, he's been warning, he's been giving his all he could. And yet, they were not able to turn around. And then Babylon came, and same thing happened. So they were in exile in Babylon. So this prophet who was called, who on top of the lung, who says that God knew me and gave me the name while I was in my mother's womb. That's how clear he felt the connection with God. And he knew that he was called by God. So God called me while I was in my mother's womb. And God gave me this job to restore Israelites. Yet his spirit was in the wilderness. He felt like he failed. But God, who called him, will not let him be that way. God wasn't going to leave the Israelites in the wilderness. God wasn't going to leave Isaiah in this place of dimness that he cannot see the future. He cannot have hope. He cannot feel the joy of being God's child or God's prophet. So God speaks to Isaiah, saying that I will restore your people. I will bring all the tribes come back. But that's really nothing. That's piece of cake. That's how easy that will be. But the next thing I will do is I will give you, meaning the people of Israel and people, those who follow God, I will give you as a light to the nations, so that salvation will come to the end of the earth. Salvation will be fulfilled to the end of the earth. That is what God has in mind as a purpose and will. God is setting these people up as light so that people can see very clearly who God is, where God is, and who God brings to this world, entire universe, knowing that all are God's children. I thought Martin Luther King Jr. was a great example of being the light. God certainly made him a light to the nations so that salvation can reach to the people who didn't think that they are called or saved. How did he do that? How he became the light to the nations? There are two ways that his light shone on earth. Because, first of all, he pursued love. Love was the one most important and highest value that he pursued when he spoke on behalf of the people who were in slavery, who were suffering, who were discriminated, who were being treated like not as honored and respected and important. His value of love, in his quote, he says, "Love is the only way to transform an enemy to friend." His way of bringing this reconciliation, bringing this justice, is through love, turning the hate to love. And practical way he did it was through nonviolence. The practice of his love was through nonviolence. And he says that nonviolence is not just avoiding the external physical violence. It is also avoiding the violence in your spirit. You not only shouldn't shot your brother or a man, but also you shouldn't hate him. By hating, you're already being violent. By holding the grudge and resentment and also feeling against other people, you're already violent. You're not practicing love. His way of being the light and bringing the light to the nations transformed the world, transformed our society, transformed our country in so many ways. As I was thinking about the light in my life, who was the light that truly was called to be light to the nations. Someone came to my mind. Her name is Peg McComas. She passed away, but she was a veteran. She was a nurse, so she was in Second World War, and also her husband was Navy chaplain. So her husband was a pastor, and she was a pastor of the church that I served. And when I visited her, she's one of those ladies who need to have manicure, pedicure all the time, hair perfectly, and makeup all the time, and just look beautiful too. And the earrings, and all the colors of your clothes matches perfectly. She has probably thousands of earrings. Every time I saw her, she was different. Just wonderful lady. And she said to me when I first came to that church, Bob used to have people come to the house, come to the parsonage to talk about this and that, and I will go upstairs, close the door, and whatever, if people raise their voice or, get stomping their feet, I will just sit down and pray. So she knew all the ins and outs of a minister's life. So, whenever life become a little tough, I always thought of her, and I always call her, how are you doing? And then she will say all these things, and I feel like, okay, I'm not alone. I feel better. But the thing that struck me most was her daughters shared about her mother when she passed away. They said that when they were living south, when the husband was stationed down in south, they had this fountain for white and for color. And they said that their mother would always ask them to go get water from the fountains of color, and told them that, see what color you will get in the water. And they believed that. They believed that, they went to the fountain and it's the same water, but they were all excited. And they said they had maid, African-American maid, and she was always taking time to teach her some sort of civil test that they need to pass so that they can vote. So every few days, she will take extra time with her to teach her all these things that she needs to know so she can pass and vote. And I remember the last time I saw her at the nursing home, and she had dementia at that time. And it was totally not Peg that I used to know. She, her tooth fell off. The hair was not well done, and she wasn't wearing any earrings, or her soul was still beautiful. The last thing she told me was, and she was in and out. She wasn't truly remembering who she was talking to. But when she came back, just brief moment, I held her hand and she said, I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people. And she said, I'm not sure if I did enough. And that was the last time I saw her. And I truly, truly think that she was the light. She cast the light of God to where she was. around the people probably who didn't think that they will see this light from this lady. I do believe that love is stronger than conflict and divisions and all the beliefs that we have, who is right or who is wrong. I do believe that we can overcome our feelings against others or whatever is holding us back to be fully capable of casting God's light, full lumens, whatever capacity that you have. I do believe that love that we hold is stronger than all these struggles and all these wrestling that we are dealing with. I do believe. And I want you to know that I do believe that this love that God has, setting us, choosing us to be God's light, to cast the light to the end of the earth, so that all can be included. I do believe that God's love is for all, and all means all. And it's okay if you disagree with me. I will not hate you. I will not judge you. You are also in that all. So I hope you all will practice shining your light where you are, trusting that God's love goes beyond the powers of hate, discrimination, injustice, and troubles of the world. If Peg was able to do it, I think we all can do it. So celebrate the love that we have. World is a brighter place because of you. Amen.